All right, folks, we welcome you back, and it is panel time. We have like a little bell I could ring. Panel time, ding, 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 or something. Anyway, joining us now on the panel, we welcome back John Gizzi, of course, Newsmax Washington, D.C. correspondent, and my good friend, Major General Paul E. Vallely. Hello, General.
Hello, Steve.
And hello, John.
Hello, an honor to be on with you, General.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
All right, folks, let's start. I just had Congressman Ted Poe on, and we were talking about Russia and assorted topics under that heading. And one of the things I brought up to him, and I'd like to start with you, John. I don't know if you've heard anything about this down in good old D.C., but the owner of the New Jersey Nets, he is a billionaire. He ran against Putin in the 2012 presidential election in Russia, which of course was a fair and honest and open election.
I wrote about him.
Okay, well, nonetheless, Miguel Prokhorov is saying that he will keep with Putin's call to repatriate Russian businesses, and he's going to move his Brooklyn Nets company, repatriate it back to Russia. Now, the NBA apparently says they have no problem with this, but I got to tell you, open support of Vladimir Putin during this time, I have a problem with it, and I would think the NBA and hopefully some fans would have a problem with it.
Well, I would hope that the Owners Association, very much as owners associations did in the NFL when they did not like the comments of the late Marge Schott, or rather, I'm sorry,
Marge Schott in Major League Baseball with Cincinnati.
Baseball Association.
Yeah.
Boy, I've got NFL on the mind.
That's okay.
Okay, of the Baseball Owners Association, and now the ranks that included at the time George W. Bush of the Texas Rangers and Gene Autry out on the West Coast. They all managed to make sure that Ms. Schott was divested of her team ownership of the Cincinnati Reds. Why? Because they didn't like some things that she said.
Yeah, about Hitler.
Now, right. Well, a number of things.
Yeah.
Now, in the case of Mr. Prokhorov, I would like to see the counterparts of the Bushes and Autrys in the world of professional basketball go to their management at the NBA and see that something might be done about this, or if something similar can be done under the circumstances. I'm not familiar with the rules of the NBA or whether the rules of commerce fully apply to owners of basketball teams, or they're limited the way they are to baseball teams.
Right. Well, General, as a retired general, whether you're an NBA aficionado or know the rules or don't, I mean, this can't sit well with you.
Well, here's a different perspective. You talked about, is this the new Cold War? But what we really have here is a global geopolitical war going on that's so multidimensional now, as opposed to the old Cold War that we knew back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And so that includes NBA basketball. It includes economics, finances, the European Union. So this whole thing about Putin now is so multidimensional, and I'm not sure we have the people in Washington, the leadership, that really understands the significance of this.
Let me ask you, General, the president today at The Hague making comments and basically saying that what's done is done, and it was done by Putin out of weakness, not strength. I tried to trash talk it down, but let me skip to the next level here. I just had Congressman Poe, who said he's not sure. He can't say with certainty that he believes NATO would militarily live up to its treaty obligations and defend, let's say, Estonia if he decided to knock on their door. Do you believe, and Doug Feith, the former Undersecretary of Defense, said yesterday that he thinks Putin believes that he could destroy NATO without a war based on their unwillingness down the road to actually defend a NATO ally. What do you say will happen if Putin does challenge NATO?
Well, I know Doug real well. I worked with him at the Pentagon back in the Rumsfeld days, and I think Doug's absolutely right. NATO is not a very capable organization as it was 20 years ago. Their military capability, for the most part, 80% of it is dependent upon U.S. They don't have the organization, the structure to conduct anything anywhere. They have not been successful anywhere in any kind of a type of a contingency plan they've taken on. Putin's ruling, he knows that Obama is very weak. He knows he's basically an empty suit. He's playing hardball. And as some said, Barack Obama's playing wiffle ball, or whatever they call it.
All right. I was going to say.
Well, I was just going to say that he knows. Well, I was just going to say that he knows we're weak now in leadership. So he's going to continue to roll the ball. Crimea is a done deal as far as I'm concerned. Now he's going to pause a little bit and then see what happens with some of the other areas over there, including the Ukraine.
John, in on this. I wanted to play cut 47 here. This is a Department of State Department spokeswoman, Marie Harf. I knew this. I predicted this yesterday when the Egyptian court sentenced the 500-plus supporters of Morsi to death. I knew our State Department would run to the microphone, and here's what she said.
We are deeply concerned, and I would say actually pretty shocked, by the sentencing to death of 529 Egyptians related to the death of one policeman, as well as the spate of violence against police stations and security personnel in the aftermath of the clearing of 2 squares in mid-August. It's our understanding that over half of those convictions were in absentia. Obviously, the defendants can appeal, but it simply does not seem possible that a fair review of evidence and testimony consistent with international standards could be accomplished with over 529 defendants in a 2-day trial. It sort of defies logic.
All right, John, your response to that? I mean, and my opinion is if this had been 500 Christians that Morsi had thrown in jail for life, this State Department wouldn't bat an eye.
You're talking about Coptic Christians.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know about that, and I would be very hesitant in commenting for a simple reason.
No, go ahead. You don't have to, but that was just my opinion. But what did you make of the State Department's outrage over this? To be expected?
Morsi, under his leadership, had Americans working for non-governmental organizations held in Egypt, and they were finally released, but they could be returned at any time for trial. These included Sam LaHood, son of the former
Ray LaHood,
Transportation
Yeah.
Secretary. And I would just point out that I think the government is going to be very, very careful in saying anything one way or another about Egypt until they, one, sort out the end of the story of the Americans, whose legal trail has still not been resolved, the Morsi fall and rise of General Sisi notwithstanding, and exactly who's in charge in Egypt. Remember, they've not had an election yet.
Right. Well, let's go to the general on that. General.
Well, I'm one of the few senior people that has met. I'm one of the few senior people that has met with LCC. I was there in November, and met with over 60 different people over there while I was there, including the military, including students. And I'll be returning to Egypt on April the 13th, Steve, so I'll be able to give you a better feel at that time. But they're going to try these people. The Muslim Brotherhood has to be done away with, not necessarily killing them all, but I don't think they'll all be put to death. There may be a few, but I think as it goes to the next court, General El-Sisi will be very cautious because of the reaction in the rest of the world towards a mass execution like that.
General Vallely, so much. Really a pleasure talking to you guys.
Always a pleasure, Steve.
Okay.
And a pleasure to be with you, General.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Steve.
Take care, guys. Good to see both of you. All right, folks, when we come back, you're not going to want to miss this interview. Bill Courtney is an amazing story. And football coach at high school level, unbelievable story. It's coming up on the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't miss it.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.